Helo, Aled Roberts ydw i, ymgynghorydd gyrfaoedd gyda Gyrfa Cymru. Rwy'n falch i gael croesawu Prif Weinidog Cymru, Mark Drakeford, Dirprwy Weinidog Economi a Thrafnidiaeth Llywodraeth Cymru, Lee Waters, Alison Stallard, pennaeth marchnata a chodi incwm gyda Hospice y Cymoedd, The Hospice of the Valleys, ac Ashley Davies, is-dechnegydd gyda cwmni peirianyddol a chynllunio Arab. Mae'r pedwar yn cyn-ddisgyblion mewn ysgolion yn Ne Cymru ac yma i siarad am y cynllun alumni cyffroes.
So, Mark Drakeford dwi'n Prif Weinidog. Yma yng Nghymru dwi'n dod o Gyfyrddin yn reiddiol. Es i i'r ysgol ramadeg y fechgyn yn Gyfyrddin. A dwi wedi gwneud lot o pethau wahanol rhwng yr amser o fod yn yr ysgol a heddi. Clywais i am y raglen gyntaf gan Lee Waters. Oedd esbonio i fi am y raglen, beth mae'r raglen yn trial i wneud. Mae'n gret i cael cyfle jyst i rannu rai profiadau a jyst i ddangos i bobl y diwysiadau sydd da nhw pan maen nhw'n paratoi am y dyfodol.
Diolch yn fawr. Well, Deputy Minister Lee Waters, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm the member of the Senedd for the Llanelli constituency, and I'm a minister in the Economy and Transport Department. I'm from the Amman Valley. I went to Ammanford Comprehensive School, it's called Dirprwy Amman, as it's now called. And I can remember when I was about 14 being told, if you want to get on, you've got to get out. And I remember feeling that was wrong then, and I feel it's wrong now. And if people with something about them leave, then our areas are never going to grow stronger. Because our way forward, our way of rebuilding our communities lies within. I think our genius and our talent is there. But often what we lack is those networks, those relationships that help us get through life. And when I got my last job leading a think tank, I remember writing to my old school saying, and I had no relationship with my school at all, can I help? I have this network. I've created my own network since leaving. Can I help anybody at the school? And I had no reply. And I think I looked at how universities work and how private schools work, and they all have these alumni networks where they help out pupils. And I thought, well, why don't comps have these? They need to have them. Because if you want to, I'm going back to the schools, to the prize giving evening, and saying, if you're at the school and you want to have your extension built or your car fixed, you've got a network. But if you want an internship at a city law firm, you probably haven't. But I guarantee there are people who've gone to this school who could help. They just don't know how to help because they don't get asked. And the people in the school don't know how to find them. So let's put those two things together and help each other.
Thank you. Alison Stallard?
Hi everyone, my name's Alison Stallard and I went to Penedre High School in Merthyr Tydfil. I'm currently the head of income generation for Hospice of the Valleys based over in Blaen y Gwent. I was approached by Geraldine from Careers Wales about becoming part of the alumni. And to be honest, when I saw the opportunity, I thought it was fantastic. For very similar reasons that Mr. Waters has talked about, the Deputy Minister, in terms of I feel quite passionately about the school I went to. It's quite often had, not the most positive of press in terms of where it's based. However, I went to that school and they were a fantastic support to me and certainly a huge positive impact on my education. Unfortunately, my mum passed away when I was 15, just before I sat my GCSEs. And the school was a huge support in terms of supporting me through that. And supporting me onwards through my A-levels, and I feel it's an honour really to be asked to be part of this programme. For that reason, to be able to share and impart some of my knowledge and experience that I've gained over my career so far with pupils in the school now, but also to try and broaden people's horizons. When I was in school, the third sector wasn't really talked about. I wasn't aware anyway that you could have a very long and prosperous career within the third sector. And so I'm keen to promote that and make young people aware that, there is the third sector where you can, your skills can be transferred across into the sector and you can have a fantastic career. But for me, the crux of it is that I'm doing something and I'm actually making a difference to the kind of people that I work with and for. So yeah, there's quite a few reasons why I'm keen to be involved in this programme.
Thank you. And finally, Ashley Davis.
So my name is Ashley. I went to Gyrfa High School in Merthyr Tydfil. It was commonly up against Penedre, Alison's school in all the sporting events. And I'm currently an assistant technician for a company called Arup, which has an office based in Cardiff Bay, but they have a multitude of offices scattered around the UK and across 5 continents, I believe. I found the alumni programme through Geraldine. She sent me an email. I think it was like a mass email that had been sent out to lots of different people, and I reached out and said, yeah, I'd love to be involved. And the reason that I wanted to get involved was because I joined Arup as an apprentice. I went from 6th form to an apprenticeship, and I felt like there wasn't enough sort of advertisement of apprenticeships, and that you were very much pushed down the university route if you were academic. And I was someone who was quite academic in school, and I just didn't like the idea of university. It didn't really appeal to me. It looked very, very expensive to me. And I liked the idea of having my own money and not having to rely on my parents for the next few years, because the grant and loan system wouldn't have provided me with enough money to see myself through university. So I would have been very dependent on my parents, and I didn't want that for myself anymore. And I thought that this programme would be a really good way to sort of advertise apprenticeships to young people in school, and even just let them know that they're an option and that you don't have to go to university.
Okay, thank you. I think that's quite valid when it was, when you were in school, and I think the same is valid today with the choices and the options that young people had. It'd be good to know maybe a little bit more about each of our guests and their journey from school to the role that they have now. When we ask current pupils what they would like to ask former pupils, Nathan at Gyrfa High School wanted to know if this is the only job you ever wanted to do, or was there something else when you were younger? Ashley, you said you're an ex-Gyrfa pupil. Perhaps you'd like to answer that first.
So when I was in school, I didn't think I would, well, when I say didn't think I'd be an engineer, I wanted to be a pop star. I wanted to travel the world and tour everywhere. I started a YouTube channel. I wrote my own songs. I really enjoyed writing generally. So I started a blog and started reaching out to different websites to write for them. But when I was in school, I really, really enjoyed maths. I really liked the problem solving aspect of it. And this is going to sound really sad, but I found it quite thrilling when you found the solution to a problem and you found out that it was the right answer. I was like, this is incredible. And when it sort of came to picking what I wanted to do, I thought, well, do you know what? To be an engineer or do something maths based and say, oh, but in my spare time, I write for my blog and I play the ukulele. I thought that sounded pretty cool. But what I thought wouldn't sound as good is if I said, oh, I write for a living, but in my spare time, I do 3rd order differential equations. Doesn't sound quite as riveting, and it sounds like quite a boring hobby. So that was how I sort of ended up pursuing engineering. I really enjoyed maths. I really enjoyed the sciences, and a few teachers in school said, you'd like engineering? And I was like, I don't really know what that is. No one really explained what that involved. They just said, oh, you like maths? Yeah, engineering's for you. And then I thought, £9,000 is a lot of money to find out I don't like it. So I'll go somewhere else and work the job and see if I do like it. And maybe then I'll pursue it as a full-time career.
Okay, what about the others then? Maybe First Minister, when you were sort of the ages of 14 to 16, did you have any sort of career ideas at that sort of time in your life?
I think fair to say that I had none at all. I would like to have opened the batting for Glamorgan. I still think that was probably amongst my ambitions when I was 14. And I echo completely what Ashley said, really. I've done loads of different jobs. And the main thing I think is to have a go and see if you enjoy it. And I've been very lucky. I've generally done jobs that I've enjoyed. And they've been, as I say, completely different in character. And I think when you're very young, you shouldn't overplan. you shouldn't feel that because you make a decision that somehow that's it forever, because life turns out not to be like that, and life turns up all sorts of chances that you haven't thought about, and sometimes shuts down chances that you hope were there. And what you need to do is to ask yourself, what will I get out of it? What will I enjoy? Are these people I like working with? I've done some very good jobs and sometimes worked with people I didn't get on with that well and didn't enjoy it. And I've done some pretty tough jobs at different times. And if I've done them with people I like, I've enjoyed going into work every day. There's lots of things to weigh up, and being willing just to take chances as they come and take experiences as they come. You'll learn a lot, and you'll be surprised at what turns out to work for you.
Alison, you mentioned in Penedre, when you were sort of 16, thinking about the future, what do you think was going through your mind? What was the main priority for you at that stage, do you feel, of your life?
Well, I was probably quite confused, really, because I think there was that level of expectation that by that point, that you needed to, well, before that really, you needed to know what you wanted to do, because you had to choose, your kind of GCSE options and different things. And I can only echo really what the others have said so far, in that I took the approach of doing things that I enjoyed and that I was good at and that made me happy. And so those were my kind of choices for GCSEs, etc. And I jumped around in terms of thinking what I wanted to do. I think very early on I wanted to be an accountant, but I don't think my math skills were quite as advanced as Ashley's. I didn't quite enjoy doing equations as much. Then I thought about joining the forces. I did some work experience in the RAF, and again, that was something that appealed to me. And then the police force, and then being a PE teacher. I loved sport, but I also loved music. And so I kind of went down that route then. But yeah, I would certainly, it's difficult at that age in your life to make decisions. And I think you do feel pressure, with making choices and thinking, oh, what if this isn't the right decision? What if this isn't the right subject? And I can remember, having conversations with staff in the school, and then, they were really honest and kind of said, look, this isn't the be all and end all, you do what you enjoy, what you're good at. You're not defined by the choices that you make now. So yeah, I think it's trying to do the things you enjoy and that make you happy and that you're good at.
And Lee Waters, in the Amman Valley, was it the same sort of thought process for you?
Yeah, I'm very clear from a young age, knowing I didn't want to get wet. I didn't want to work in the cold. That was my sort of key starting point, because all the men in my family worked, cold and wet, and I didn't want that. My grandmother, just before she died in the early 90s, held my hand and she said to me, almost with a sigh of pride, "You've got gentleman's hands," she said. And I took that as a sign of success. I didn't have to do the rough old jobs that all the men in my family had done, because nobody had gone to college. And my mother, when I was 14, she'd been a hairdresser and had divorced from my father and didn't know what to do. And she went back to college and trained to be a careers advisor. And seeing her go through that process of pushing herself and working made really woke a spirit in me, really. And then that's when I decided I wanted to go to college. I never thought about it before. I wanted to be a reporter until I figured out that you had to learn shorthand, and I couldn't get my head around shorthand, far too complicated. But I did become a reporter, despite not knowing shorthand. But that's been my pattern too, really. Do something you like, do it for as long as you're learning new things. And once you stop learning new things, try something else. And the other thing I said, the reflection I offer people is, don't just see your day job as the only thing you do. Do volunteering as well. Because I've learned as much from being a school governor as I learned from being a reporter. And it's through being a school governor, it made me want to leave being a reporter to do other things where I felt like I was making a contribution. So just keep, you get taught this cliche in school, the more you put in, the more you get out. And I've been told that all the time about clubs. And that is absolutely right about life and work as well. The more stuff you do, And everybody has different passions, don't they? And some people are happy just plodding along, and some people are not happy plodding along. But just do what feels right. Listen to your instinct, because it's rarely wrong.
Yes, some good points there. I feel for young people to maybe take on board now when they are looking towards the future. Again, how things are at the moment in the big wide world. Resilience. It's always been an important part of the world of work. And maybe more so for young people now. How did you cope, Alison? Maybe with some early frustrations or rejections when you were younger, looking at that first step onto the job ladder.
I think in my younger days, I certainly lacked confidence in my ability. And I think that would be one of the biggest pieces of advice I would give to young people these days is and I think it's worse now because of all the pressure of social media and things, but to be confident in your ability and don't compare yourself to others. Because I quite often wouldn't put myself forward for things or wouldn't apply for a job or things because I'd always think, oh no, there'll be somebody better than me, somebody else will get that. And it was only through having small little part-time jobs. I worked from the age of 16, in lots of different part-time jobs, that I learned resilience in terms of, understanding how the world of work actually worked. And that was good experience for me, that kind of went in line and kind of parallel to my education then. And yeah, I think confidence is a big thing. And I think young people these days, there is this, this world out there where I call it the Instagram world, where everything looks perfect and airbrushed photographs and all the rest of it. And I think it's hard for young people because they're constantly seeing this and comparing themselves. And I think it's quite a fake world that exists. And I think if ever there was a time for people to kind of not judge, look at others and judge and just be confident in you and your ability, it's now really.
Maybe to the First Minister, obviously involved in politics, resilience plays quite a big part in that job. But what about, in the early days, perhaps when you were looking for that first opportunity when you left university? How was that for you?
Well, your first job is a tough job because, you're not used at that point just to the basic routines, are you? I went from university to work, and on the 1st of September 1979, I turned up at the probation office in Westgate Street at Cardiff. And 10 years later, I was still there, although I never planned that. But the challenge is a lot, aren't you? You're learning the job inevitably. You're learning the routines of work. You could be there every morning at 9 o'clock. You're going to be there for the day. All of those things that you have to get used to. I really echo something that Lee said. It's good to be doing more than one thing, because in any job you will have days, and sometimes even a bit more than days, when the job is pretty tough and difficult. And to have more than one thing on the go, because you're doing a bit of voluntary work or you're doing a bit of study sometimes. I continue to work in some university study while I was working, and on the bad days it's good to say to yourself, well, actually what I really do, what I really do is the other thing. It's a bit like Ashley was saying, what I really do is I don't do equations, what I really do is I write songs. So having more than one thing going on in your life, I think, helps you to get through some of the tougher times in work, and then you come through those, and generally you've learned from what you've done, you carry on.
What about you, Lee Waters? Was there any sort of parental or peer pressure on you when you were in school to go down a certain route, or not?
None at all. And this is why I think the alumni network is so important. It's because it's those practical advice you may not have in your own network, in your own family. Because nobody in my family had any experience of any of the things I was interested in. And a couple of schools have experimented this already. I was speaking to the head teacher in Risca Comp and in Lewis Boys in Pengan, and they've been doing a scheme like this with Future First, who's helping us with this project. They've created a toolkit that every school in Wales will have access to, and then there's going to be 10 valley schools who Careers Wales help a bit more. Well, they gave me the great example of when they'd done their first database of their former pupils, and they'd asked people, did you go here, would you let us know? Because schools don't keep the record, they've lost touch with their former pupils, which is one of the things we're trying to put right with this project. And they had a couple of lads who wanted to be airline pilots. Now, it costs them like $100,000 to train to be an airline pilot, and it's a particular set of skills and experiences. And if you don't know people who's been an airline pilot, you don't know whether it's right for you or that's the right thing to do, or should you go in the Air Force first or whatever. And the great thing they were able to do through this project is they had no idea they had some former pupils who were airline pilots. But because of this exercise, they ferreted them out and they were able to connect the current airline pilots with the kids who wanted to be airline pilots and have a conversation about was it for them and what the steps they should do, what work experience was the right thing to do, what thing to study. And that sort of social capital is invaluable, I think. And where families haven't got those networks, so you're not the son of a doctor or a whatever, you wouldn't possibly know what jobs exist. And that's the thing about the world of work. Jobs that existed 50 years ago now are stopping existing, and jobs that didn't exist 3 years ago all of a sudden have been invented. And you couldn't possibly know about that unless you reach out to people. And that's, I hope, what this scheme will do.
I think you're right there, because technology now is moving at a fast pace. And I know in Wales, there are lots of industries now blossoming. I'm thinking of the wafer factory outside Newport, which is really cutting edge kind of thing. But I'm just wondering, maybe, Ashley, is there anything you feel that you might have done differently back when you were in school to get you to where you are now?
I think if I could do anything differently back when I was in school, it would be to pick GCSEs that I enjoyed, not things that I thought were the smart choices. I'd have done the things that I genuinely thought, I'm just doing this because I like it, not because I think this is going to have an end career, but because I think this is something that I'm going to really enjoy doing. And I think I would, like Leah said, try and reach out to people who are in the industry that I'm interested in, because when you speak to your teachers, a lot of the teachers that you speak to have gone from school to university to doing a PGCE and then into teaching. So when you say to your physics or maths teacher, I'm looking into engineering, they don't really know what that sort of involves in the real world. And I think that's something that I would really encourage students to do, is to try and reach out and find people who have that sort of information, and hopefully this project will allow for that.
And if I might add, on behalf of Careers Wales, we've got careers advisors in every school in Wales. So, utilise our expertise. We're up to date with, labour market trends, where the demand for the futures will be, and hopefully we can give you unbiased advice and guidance towards the future. So that's all. Yes, good.
The thing I've found as well is amazing. Most people are willing to help somebody who asks them for help. And often kids don't pick up the confidence and the courage to ask for help. And that's one thing I did, and I was supposed to be odd as in that sense. I just wrote letters to people who were doing the jobs I was interested in, saying, can you help me? Can you give me advice? And I had lots of good advice, and I had work experience from it. And that's what I encourage people to do now, is just have a bit of cheek, chance your arm, ask for help. And often, people will help. And people like to be helpful and to give advice. And don't stop asking for help either. Keep asking for help. And then pay back. I think you have a responsibility then to seek out opportunities to help other people.
Good advice. Well, rydyn ni wedi derbyn nifer o gwestiynau diddorol gan ddisgyblion a maen nhw am I ni ofyn i'n gwesteion ni. Mae yna rhai ar fideo a rhai byddai I ni gofyn ar ei rhan, felly fe ddechreuwn ni arni.
Beth yw'r sgil mwyaf pwysig rydych chi'n defnyddio yn eich swydd?
So, un o'r pethau sy'n pwysig I fi yn y gwaith dwi'n neud yw jyst I gwrando. Gwrando I beth mae pobl eraill yn dweud, nid jyst yn aros I siarad, ond trial I ganolbwyntio ar gwrando I deall beth mae pobl eraill yn dweud, I checio os chi wedi deall hwnna'n iawn, a feddwl, beth yw y pwynt mae rhywun arall yn trial i wneud, sut mae'r pwynt na yn mynd i helpu fi yn y penderfyniadau sydd i fi i wneud. So, nid jyst am feddwl am beth sydd da fi i ddweud, ond beth sydd da pobl eraill i ddweud ac i gwrando yn ofalus am beth sydd da nhw i gyfrannu.
Here's a question for Ashley Davis. What motivates you to get up for work on a Monday morning?
I think there's two answers to this, because getting up for work on a Monday morning in the middle of July is very different to getting up for work on a Monday morning in the middle of January. And I think if you've got, when I get up for work in the morning, if I know I've got a really good project to work on and I've got lots of stuff to do, I feel really motivated to get up. If I know that I've got, meetings with people in work where we're going to, discuss new innovations, new things in the industry, that gets me up for work. If I know that if I'm going to be going in and able to plug my earphones in and just plow through a really big task and get a lot done, that motivates me for work, seeing the people who I work with, because, a lot of where I work is about the people that I work with, and that helps you to get out of bed. In the middle of winter, and this is probably the wrong answer, is food. It's knowing, I'm going to make myself a good breakfast, or I'm going to take a decent lunch into work today, and knowing that, it's going to be a cold commute. But once you're in and everyone's there and you all sort of muck in together, that I like the environment that I work in. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that encourages me to go into work on a Monday morning. And that's if I haven't got uni, because on a uni day, it's a very different sort of motivation, because it's a lot more self-motivation rather than work motivation on that front.
It'd be good to know how everybody would answer the next couple of questions.
Os na fyddech chi'n gwneud y swydd yma nawr, pa swydd arall chi'n meddwl byddech chi'n gwneud?
Alison, what about you?
Well, I would probably, whether I'd still be there, I don't know, but I probably would have joined the police force, because as I left university, I'd made an application to the police force and had been accepted through the stages. I think I would have been in the police force.
Lee Waters, what about you?
Well, I was doing some normal jobs and I ruined it all by going into politics. So I'm probably doing what I was doing before, which is running smaller organizations and leading teams. And that's what I really like. I love working in the team, building a team of people, all with different skills, coming together and figuring out what we can do as one big team. And politics doesn't quite work like that in the same way, and I miss that a bit. So that's what I'd probably be doing.
And First Minister, what do you think you'd be doing?
Wel, cyn neud y gwaith dwi'n neud nawr, oeddwn ni'n darlithio yn y Prifysgol yma yng Nghaerdydd, ac oeddwn nhw'n fwynhau y gwaith na, oeddwn nhw'n fwynhau dysgu myfyrwyr i bod gyda bobl ifanc ac yn siarad â nhw am beth oeddwn nhw'n mynd i wneud yn y dyfodol ac yn y blaen, ac oedd cyfle i ysgrifennu hefyd, oedd amser i roi pethau lawr ar papur a rannu pethau fel na da bobl eraill. So, os bydd y cyfleoedd sydd da fi a hyn o bryd ddim wedi codi, dwi'n siŵr byddai i yn dal i wneud y gwaith oeddwn i'n wneud cyn dod i fewn i'r byd gwleidyddiaeth.
And Ashley, what about you? Would you have gone down that pop star route or not?
I think if I had to, so I'm 21, so I would probably still be in university. But I think I would have gone and studied environmental science had I not done engineering, because I think climate change is something massive that my generation will face. And I think that's something where I feel I could have really made a difference.
Here's another interesting one. Do you think things are different for young people now? And do you think you would make different choices if you were in school today? Lee Waters. Oh,
gosh. Well, things are always different, the context we live in with every generation. Things are fundamentally the same. No, I think things making different choices is a really good one. And this is something I thought a lot about. Because when especially when you're in school, you're going to take options, you're going to decide you go to further education or higher education, and you take a job. At every point, you're put in front of a crossroad, and there is no right or wrong answer. And sometimes you've just got to hold your nose and just pick one. And it's always tempting to look back and think, what would have happened if I'd done that and not this? And this has happened to me a few times. And there's a poem by Robert Frost called The Path Not Taken, and it talks about taking the path less travelled by. And I've always had that poem in mind when I've faced these choices. I've always chosen the path less travelled by. But also importantly, I haven't second-guessed in my mind, did I take the right one? Because it's impossible. You're just going to pick one, go for it, and if you don't like it, do something else. You know, these things aren't set in stone forever, but don't torture yourself by second-guessing. Listen to your instinct and your heart and give it a crack.
And Alison, do you think things are much different now to when you were in school?
I think things are different. As I said, I think, you know, the digital world has changed a lot of things. Even, you know, if I compare to when I was in school and, you know, kind of having my first mobile phone, now, you know, youngsters, that's all they look at. And so I think there's a lot more pressure on young people these days. And I think there's this unrealistic world. You know, I was brought up in a generation of, you know, you kind of, like Lee said, you kind of you get out what you put in, where you work hard, you know, you put the time and effort in, and yet there's almost a culture today of you know, the commodities and, you know, the kind of these influencers and Instagram influencers and different things. And I think that paints quite an unrealistic picture for young people, that, you know, perhaps you don't have to work hard, you can, you know, go down this road and do these types of things, and it's very, you know, unrealistic. So I think that does make things harder for young people these days. There's quite a lot of unrealistic kind of parts to society. So yeah, I think it can be more difficult. But again, I think for young people, it's again about focusing on them and having confidence in themselves and their ability, really.
Okay, Lee Waters, Harry's question is for you. Did you have a part-time job in school or at university?
Yeah, I was a newspaper boy from the age of 11 till I was 16, and I used to deliver the South Wales Evening Post, and I used to have to get my own customers and have to put the orders in and send any returns back and try and build my round. So that's what I did when I was in school. And I worked in a video shop. Don't exist anymore. They've been digitally disrupted. Netflix has killed the video shop, but there was such things as video shops when I was a teenager. So I worked there. I was lucky not to work in university. I had a grant which paid for my rent. I had a very sort of frugal lifestyle. I didn't spend very much money because I wanted to go and see my girlfriend on the weekend who's in Cardiff, now my wife, and do my studies in the week. So I was a bit boring, really, but it meant that I didn't need to have a job, I was very fortunate.
Ashley, Frankie would like to know, what advice would you give to a Year 7 pupil starting their school journey?
I would say be a sponge, be curious, ask all the questions. Don't be afraid to, you know, ask your teachers things in a respectful way. If you disagree with something, that's fine. Just be respectful about it. You don't have to be nasty or rude to ask questions. Be kind to the people who you're in your year group with, because you're with them for the next 5 years. So make friends, but focus on not making enemies as much as trying to make friends. Join all the clubs, see what you enjoy, and don't care about what other people's opinions are of those clubs, because it doesn't matter if you're having a good time.
Oh, great advice.
First Minister Isabel, she's in Year 8, and she'd like to know, what is the favourite part of your job?
Wel, ys y cyfle I cwrdd gyda bobl eraill. A dwi'n mor lwcus, bob dydd dwi'n cwrdd gyda bobl, a bob dydd dwi'n dysgu pethau. Trwy cwrdd â nhw, trwy ni weld be maen nhw'n gwybod, be dwi ddim yn gwybod pethau. Just I, fel mae pobl eraill wedi dweud, just I feddwl am sut chi'n gallu dod ymlaen gyda bobl eraill, dysgu oddi wrth bobl eraill yn fwynhau y cwmni chi'n cael. Pan chi'n yn gwaith a tu fas o gwaith, ac yn y ffordd yna, dwi'n siŵr, chi'n gallu cael rhywbeth mas o bron popeth.
Alison, Justina has sent this question in, and she'd like to know, what's the biggest achievement you've accomplished in your time in your job?
It's probably the current job that I'm in now, as head of income generation and marketing for a very small hospice. When I started there 4 years ago, the role was a new role that had been created because they recognised they needed to drive income forward. So it was a new challenge for me. I'd previously worked at T Haven Children's Hospice and loved my job there. I'd managed a lovely team, but it felt a bit like Lee talked about. I'd kind of stopped learning, and so this was a brand new challenge for me. But still working, with a cause that was very close to my heart in terms of hospice care. And I came into the role, kind of sleeves rolled up, right, let's get on with it. And it was really tricky. I had a team of just 2 who'd been there a long time. I think themselves become a bit stagnant and complacent, and didn't really have that drive and ambition anymore. And so I had to set out a strategic plan of how I was going to grow income for the organisation. And I had to restructure the team, but obviously had to work with these people. I had to performance manage, which was difficult because you're dealing with people, and it's very tricky. But again, there was this goal that we had to achieve and move forward with raising more money. And in that 4 years, I'm quite happy to say and pleased and proud to say that I've been able, with the support of now a fantastic team, to generate 20% more income over that period. And I think certainly the last 12 months has been exceptionally trying, but it's been a fantastic challenge and testament really to having a good team in place of people where we all support each other. And we know we're making a difference in the local community. So I think the biggest achievement for me is being able to make that impact and know that impact is making a difference to people's lives.
I know time is rushing off. Just a quick answer then, Alison. Mia wanted to know, how do you think career choice decisions for the future generations might be different?
I think there's a bit like Lee said earlier, there's jobs that existed 30 years ago that don't exist now, and it's an ever-changing world, and I think technology and certainly probably the last 12 months in terms of lots of things becoming more online and digital and people working from home has kind of made a difference. But again, in terms of career choices, I think it's harping back to what we've all talked about this afternoon. I think it's about people choosing careers or choosing, subjects that they enjoy, that they're happy doing, that they're good at, and hopefully that will lead them into a career that works for them. And if it doesn't, then nothing is set in stone and has to be. And there is always that opportunity to move on to something else, really.
One final question then, and really a quick fire answer from all of you, maybe starting with Ashley. Jack wanted to know, what's your favourite memory of school?
So when I was in year 11, they just opened the sixth form college in Merthyr, so year 11 was the highest year group. And every year when Children in Need came around, there was this big talent show that was held. And when I was in year 7, I remember walking in and they ran the show 3 times over the course of the day for all the year groups, and I thought, whoa, this is awesome, I can't wait to have to plan this. And then I got to year 11 and I was on the senior team with a few of my other friends, and I thought, oh my gosh, we have to plan this, and it has to be fantastic, and it has to be just as good and funny as it has been every other year. And it was a lot of pressure, but we pulled it off. We had 2 boys come out and dance to Let's Get Ready to Rumble just after Ant and Dec had done the revamp of the song. We had a load of boys in our year group go on stage in leotards and dance to Single Ladies. It was awesome. We had so many different people who were, you know, sort of embarrassed of doing that sort of thing out on stage and really, really enjoying it. And everyone thought it was really good. And I was just so proud that we'd managed to pull something together like that and that it went down so well.
And Lee Waters, your favourite memory?
Well, I've got lots of memories really, and mostly involved sort of laughing and doing creative things. So taking part in a school play or doing a sketch or a school newspaper. So it's an extracurricular activities, interestingly. So the stuff I did on the side.
And First Minister, have you got a favourite memory from QE High?
Playing music. That would be mine as well. Not anything to do with the classroom, but just with a group of other people, all interested in playing music, all doing something together in that collective way that you all get something out of it. And yeah, if I think of one thing that I look back on and think, what did that school give me? It was the chance to play music and to enjoy it with other people.
And the last word, Alison, with you?
Very similar. Being part of a team, you know, through different sport, going away, representing the school overseas with sport, and just being with a group of like-minded friends, really, and feeling part of something.
Diolch yn fawr i chi gyd yn gwesteion ni am ymuno gyda ni heddiw ac am rannu eich profiadau pan fyddech chi'n yr ysgol am eich dewisiadau gyrfa. Diolch hefyd i'r athrawon a disgyblion am ddafod eich cwestiynau mwyn i ni gael holi ein gwesteion ar eich rhan. Mae'n glir y bydd gan y gymuned alumni gyfoeth o straeon fydd o ddiddordeb i ddisgyblion ysgol nawr, boed hynny yn syniad clir o beth roedden nhw am i'w wneud o oedran cynnar, dim syniad o gwbl, neu bod nhw wedi newid gyrfa ar hyd eu taith. Diolch yn fawr i chi am wylio.